Since the second half of the 20th century, some 2,500 nuclear devices have been detonated, many of them not only on land or at sea, but also against the atmosphere. Of these, 428 megatons have detonated in the atmosphere, that is, the equivalent of about 29,000 devices like the one in Hiroshima. If we make a percentage of the total energy used, we extract about 540 megatons. This shows that the obsession and interests behind it are very well justified, because the budget to do that is not a small thing. In 1954, the Army launched the Castle Bravo device on Bikini Atoll, Marshall Islands, in the Pacific Ocean. This device reached 15 megatons, the highest power ever recorded in the United States. The detonation causing an atomic mushroom that reached an altitude of 14 kilometers in 1 minute and a crater 2 kilometers in diameter and 70 meters deep, then caused devastating acid rain. In later years they launched up to 67 atomic devices on the Marshall Islands, causing serious pollution and use problems. A study carried out by a group of British meteorologists found that the clouds were visibly denser and thicker and there was 24% more rain than average on days with more radioactivity. That meant the devices could change the electrical charge in the atmosphere. Therefore, this series of detonations was key to investigating the functioning of the climate. The most famous device launched against the atmosphere is known as Operation Starfish Prime. On July 9, 1962, it was detonated at an altitude of 400 kilometers on Johnstone Island in the Pacific Ocean. The detonation had 1.4 megatons. The consequences of this device were devastating and nothing like it was ever authorized because it caused planes to shut down, reported electrical problems and cut off telephone connections. In addition, there was an inexplicable increase in X-rays in the atmosphere, as well as gamma rays, ions, electrons, and subatomic particles that caused bizarre atmospheric disturbances. Then they continued with the Dominican operation and the device they launched the furthest away was the Argus III. At an altitude of 540 kilometers. During these detonations, strange electromagnetic reactions would take place that could be related to the theory of the shield or dome that recovers the Earth, as reflected in the world's oldest cultures. All cultures tell us about the same thing. What they won't officially tell us is that in many of these detonations a red cloud expanded downwards, not upwards, as if there was something impenetrable, forming beams of light at the epicenter of the detonation. It seems that they have tried to detonate so many megatons up there and it is not known what the reason is. Much has been said about simple atmospheric weather experiments to stimulate the Van Halen belt. Everything seems to suggest that there is an impenetrable electromagnetic dome, and that has been what has caused so many detonations in the atmosphere. If we never get out of here and instead of talking about astronauts, we start talking about actonauts, what would happen? There is the testimony of men who saw more lands beyond what is called the South Pole, that limit of ice. Actually, what they call the South Pole is what surrounds all this land, and beyond that there are some kind of high-altitude walls of ice. It seems that there is more land there. Perhaps what comes beyond those walls is what we can call the concept of extraterrestrial, and what is terrestrial are the human beings that are contained in this circle.